You see what I'm saying? So there are common, like as Muslims, we have to stand with people, whether they're Muslims or not, if they're oppressed. It don't matter. If they're oppressed and they're fighting against oppression, we have to support them. We have to support them. Because whether they believe in Allah or not, those oppressed people, whether they believe in the one God or not, guess whose side the one God is on? You're on their side. Because they're being oppressed. And so it's those type of principles that I think will bring us together. There just has to be an understanding. You know what I'm saying? That we have to understand it. We have to be willing to understand each other. Because one of the things that's happening in the world today is that many people who believe in dialectical materialism, they did not imagine, many of us didn't, that there will be a force in the world who's going to challenge American imperialism, but it's not going to be from a materialist base. They're going to be spiritual warriors. That's a different phenomenon in the world today. That's a different phenomenon in the world. And I've seen some progressive people not know how to deal with that. Wait a minute. It's almost like they're saying they're fighting against imperialism. They're fighting against colonialism. They are. But they're coming from a spiritual thing. And so they don't know how to. Now, technically speaking, they should stand with us. Just like we have to stand with oppressed people no matter what, you know what I'm saying, where they're coming from, they're oppressed, so we have to help support them. Those progressives, technically speaking, they should be standing with us. But what's hard for them to do is, they're spiritual. Ooh, that type of thing. To tell you the truth, I think those who believe in like the dialect and children's approach, who are people of color, will understand this better. Will be willing better. And in all due respect, than our white brothers. It'll be harder for them to deal with. Not saying they can't deal with it. It'll be harder for them to deal with. But Hugo and Ahmadinejad are tight. So is Malcolm and Che. You feel me? And so it's a historical relationship already. The two places in the world that are challenging the empire, like no other, is the Islamic world and Latin America. Oh, but it'll be big time. But they're coming together. And they're coming together. They're not coming together because one is Muslim and one is not Muslim, so on and so forth, but there's a shared struggle. There's just a shared struggle that exists. So I don't think there's a problem there at all. You know what I'm saying? Because there are principles. There are principles that are high principles that are being fought for. You know? So I don't think there's a problem at all. Yeah. And historically, it hasn't been too much of a problem. And look what we're seeing today, though. Look what we're seeing today. Just look what we're seeing today. With respect to Venezuela, for example, and Iran. You see what I'm saying? And so they can do that. And it's not blocking. The Muslims in Iran are not saying, no, Hugo, you socialist. No, we can't mess with that. Hugo's not saying, no, Iranians, you spiritual. Y'all come from this spiritual tip. We can't mess with that. No, they're seeing exactly what they have in common. And they're working together. That's what's actually taking place. And we should replicate that domestically. Reynolds.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Earlier in the lecture, you mentioned that Islam had gone into the Philadelphia culture through the dancing and then the clothing and things like that.
Yeah, all kinds of ways.
What do you think about the current hip hop and R&B stars that are Muslims, like Akon, like DJ Khaled, like T-Pain? What do you think about?
You dropping names, ain't you?
What do you think about what they're propagating, and is that a reflection of our community, and can you address those issues? And how will it affect the culture within this community, within the U.S.? And is that also a part of your theme that you said, the more corruption there is, the more good comes out of it? That's what I want.
At the core, you've already heard me say this, at the core of black youth culture is hip-hop, basketball, and Islam. Hip-hop, basketball, and Islam is the core of black youth culture. Now, the entertainment world is a really rough world. Really one of the most corrupt of their... It's really corrupt in the entertainment world. So the brothers can only do so much. But what we hope that they do, and what we see some of them doing, is trying to bring a truth. Because once hip-hop got so nasty and filthy, not during our generation, you see. And I like to say that hip-hop came from my generation. Early 80s, the children of the 60s. Early 80s, the children of the 60s. And the reason why hip-hop was bringing it, because it was children of the 60s who were bringing it. Right? So, I just want to put that out there. So, but the other thing though is that because hip-hop got so filthy and got so nasty, and Nas started talking about hip-hop is dead. Hip-hop is dead. And Nas was saying that because of the fact that it had gotten so nasty, it had gotten so filthy, that none of the rappers are saying nothing anymore. So it was good that Nas had brought that up, because hip-hop was getting so crazy. Now what's happening is that there's a change taking place in hip-hop. There's a change. And as my brother pointed out, at the core of that change is Islam. At the core of that change is Islam. And so now you have these rappers, these poets, right? The poets. Now you have these poets, these rappers, who are now bringing another thing. They're bringing another thing. And some of it, not all of it, but some of it is Islamic based. You feel me? That goes along with the culture. Because back during like the 60s and stuff, we had to have culture stuff that fueled us, that fueled the movement. The songs had to fuel the movement. You feel me? The cultural expressions fueled the movement. So when we see these young rappers who are becoming Muslim, and that's been taking place for a while, it's just going to another level now. We see these young rappers becoming Muslims. I'm told that Immortal Technique, y'all know Immortal Technique? Yeah. He said, yeah. And so we were told that we were speaking at UCR last night, Riverside, and Immortal Technique was there, right? And we were told that during his thing, he separated the sexes. The men sat on one side, and the sisters sat on another side. And then he told the people, the artist asked that this be done this particular way. Islam is coming. It is coming, y'all. You know what I'm saying? No matter what is said about it, no matter what they, you know what I'm saying? Islam is coming. It can't be stopped. And like I said, it's like a ball. If you drop it, it comes up this high. If you slam it to the ground, it comes up higher and faster. If you leave this deen alone, you leave it alone, it's coming up. If you try to take this Islam and slam it to the ground, it's coming up higher and faster. That's the deen. And so now more rappers are bringing it. And it's being reflected in their poetry. And so we have to encourage them, though. We have to encourage them to try to become even more and more, you know what I'm saying, Islamic in their presentation, like, you know what I'm saying? Just encourage them to do it. Because again, the entertainment world is a crazy, crazy world. The drugs, the women, the slavery that they get you put in, entertainment is crazy. You've got to have a serious base in order to make sure that you don't become corrupt. Like take on the corruption of that world. But if their poets see themselves as Muslim poets, because Allah talks about Muslim poets in the Quran. He talks about poets that are not Muslim poets and their characteristics, and he talks about poets that are Muslim poets in the Quran. And rappers are nothing but poets. And so if the rappers don't see themselves, try not to see themselves as entertainers. I know they're in the entertainment world, but don't see yourself as an entertainer. But see yourself as a Muslim poet. See yourself in that vein. And so we just have to encourage them. But it's happening. It is definitely. Somebody said that they talked to, who somebody said y'all talked to? And he was mentioning all these, y'all talked to somebody. Who was I talking to? I talked to you, Hadi? What's Hadi? That he was talking to, and he was talking about like the rappers who were Muslim. No, he Muslim. He was named. Those poor and will